Close your eyes and picture it. The year is 1905. The summer sun beats down on Brooklyn. The streets shimmer with heat, and the air smells faintly of coal smoke and horse manure. But if you follow the crowds, board a trolley or an elevated train, and head south toward the sea, you'll find yourself swept into another world, a world of music, lights, laughter, and spectacle. This was Coney Island in its golden age. To spend a summer in Coney Island in the early 1900s was to step into America's playground. It was thrilling, chaotic, sometimes dangerous, and always unforgettable. Today, we'll walk those crowded boardwalks, ride the dizzying attractions, taste the food, and hear the noise of the most famous seaside resort in the world. For most New Yorkers, the journey itself was part of the adventure. In the early 1900s, you could reach Coney Island by trolley, elevated rail, or ferry. The trip might take an hour or more, but anticipation built with every passing block. Families packed baskets of food, young couples whispered to one another, and children leaned out of windows, eager for the first glimpse of the sea. By the time you stepped off at the beach, you were no longer in the city. Before you stretched an enormous, flat expanse of sand, the Atlantic glittering at the horizon, and behind you, rising like palaces, were the amusement parks, Steeplechase, Luna Park and Dreamland, names that promised wonder. The beach was the great equalizer. Entry was free, and on hot days tens of thousands crowded the shore. Imagine a sea of humanity. Men in striped bathing suits that reached their knees, women in long wool swimsuits with skirts, children splashing in the surf. Umbrellas dotted the sand, peddlers hawked ice cream and lemonade, and lifeguards in wooden towers scanned the waves. Swimming was both joy and risk. The Atlantic was wild, the undertow strong, and drownings were tragically common. Yet people poured into the water, laughing and shouting, relishing the chance to escape the suffocating heat of the city. For many immigrants who had never seen the ocean before, Coney Island was their first encounter with the sea. Beyond the beach stretched an entirely different world. The streets of Coney Island pulsed with energy. Barkers shouted from every corner, advertising sideshows, arcades, and rides. Bands played ragtime, organs cranked out mechanical tunes, and vendors sold hot dogs. Nathan Handwerker would open his famous stand in 1916. But even before that, sausages on buns were a staple. You could buy saltwater taffy, popcorn, peanuts, or oysters on the half-shell. Children begged for penny candies, while adults eyed the beer gardens. Everywhere was motion. Lights blinking, banners waving, voices calling. It was noisy, chaotic, and overwhelming. Exactly what visitors craved. The first great amusement park of Coney Island was Steeplechase, opened in 1897 by George C. Tillieu. Its motto was, "The funny place," and everything about it was designed to make people laugh, often at themselves. The park's signature ride was the Steeplechase horses, a mechanical racetrack where visitors mounted wooden horses that raced along metal rails. Couples clung to each other as the horses whipped around curves. Other attractions included giant slides, revolving barrels, and mechanical rides that sent people tumbling into heaps, all to the delight of watching crowds. Steeplechase was not about elegance. It was about slapstick, about knocking down social barriers. In 1903, Luna Park opened and transformed Coney Island into something magical. Designed by Frederick Thompson and Elmer "Skip" Dundee, Luna Park was a fantasy world of towers, domes, and minarets, all outlined in thousands of electric lights. At night, the entire park glowed like a dream, a dazzling vision in an age when most city streets were still lit by gas lamps. Inside, visitors found canals with gondolas, a miniature railway, and exotic-themed rides that transported them to imagined worlds. A trip to the moon, where passengers boarded a papier-mâché spaceship. 20,000 leagues under the sea, a fantastical submarine voyage, and ethnographic villages where performers reenacted life in distant lands. It was spectacle, pure and simple. To walk through Luna Park at night was to believe you had entered another planet. 2 years later, in 1905, Dreamland opened, bigger, brighter, and more ambitious than anything before. Its entrance towers soared 375 feet into the sky, glowing with 1 million electric lights. Inside were vast lagoons, a ballroom, a scenic railway, and elaborate shows. Dreamland specialized in educational spectacles that were both thrilling and terrifying. One attraction staged a burning building from which firefighters dramatically rescued actors. Another recreated natural disasters like floods or volcanic eruptions. The infant incubator exhibit displayed premature babies cared for in early incubators, a strange blend of science and spectacle that nonetheless saved lives. Dreamland aimed to outshine Luna Park, offering both wonder and shock. For visitors in the early 1900s, it was like stepping into a fantasy bigger than their imaginations. Not everything at Coney Island was glittering. Along Surf Avenue, sideshows offered freak attractions that drew both fascination and controversy. You could see sword swallowers, fire eaters, giants, dwarfs, and people with unusual physical conditions presented as curiosities. Some sideshows exploited performers cruelly, while others offered them steady employment and fame they could not find elsewhere. For visitors, the experience was part of the thrill. The strange, the bizarre, the shocking. Coney Island was a playground, but it was not without risk. Fires swept through wooden buildings with alarming regularity. In fact, Dreamland itself would burn to the ground in 1911. Rides sometimes malfunctioned, throwing riders or collapsing under strain. Crowds were so thick that stampedes occasionally broke out, leaving people injured. Pickpockets prowled the streets, and morality reformers decried the mingling of men and women in bathing suits. For many critics, Coney Island represented everything wild and unruly about modern life. But for millions, those very qualities were what made it irresistible. Perhaps the most extraordinary thing about Coney Island was the way it mixed people. On the sand and in the parks, immigrants from Italy, Ireland, Germany, and Eastern Europe rubbed shoulders with native-born Americans. The wealthy and the working class walked the same boardwalks. For young men and women, Coney Island offered rare freedom. Away from watchful parents, they could flirt, hold hands, and ride together in public. This mingling alarmed moral guardians, but thrilled visitors. Coney Island was where the old rules of class and culture broke down, if only for a summer day. So what would a full day in Coney Island look like around 1905? You'd arrive by trolley in the late morning, the sun already hot. After staking a spot on the beach, you'd swim in the cool Atlantic, dodging waves and lifeguards' whistles. Around noon, you'd grab a sausage sandwich or fried clams, washed down with lemonade. By afternoon, you'd wander into steeplechase, laughing as you stumbled through the barrel of fun or raced on the wooden horses. Then, as evening fell, you'd step into Luna Park or Dreamland, where electric lights turned night into day. You might soar in a Ferris wheel, take a fantastical journey to the moon, or marvel at a staged volcanic eruption. By the time you boarded the trolley home, sand still clinging to your clothes, your mind would whirl with images of fire, water, lights, and laughter. To spend a summer in Coney Island in the early 1900s was to glimpse the future of entertainment, the birth of mass leisure, and the power of spectacle to bring people together. It was noisy, risky, chaotic, but it was also joyous. For immigrants chasing the American dream, for workers seeking escape from endless labor, for children seeing wonders for the first time, Coney Island was nothing short of magical. The beach, the boardwalk, the parks, all of it combined into a summer memory that lasted a lifetime. And even though much of that Coney Island has vanished, its spirit remains. Bold, dazzling, and unforgettable. If you enjoyed this journey into New York's past, don't forget to like this video. Leave a comment with your favorite part of Coney Island history. And subscribe to Good Old New York for more stories of the city's unforgettable past.